I just led a men's group session that I call the Gentlemen's Club, and I want to share it with you, share what it was like, because we got a lot from it, myself included, that perhaps is obvious to our own personal growth and quality of life, but we just, you know, procrastinate. We pick up our phones and we scroll and we do all kinds of other different things that aren't really serving us. So, in these Gentlemen's Club calls, I focus on three questions for myself and the guys. I'm having the conversation with you. It's not like a hierarchy here. It's I'm facilitating the session, but I'm in it just as much as the other gentlemen are. And so we focus on three questions. The first question is, what are you doing well right now? What do you want to celebrate about how you're being as a man? This is really about just giving ourselves a pat on the back. A couple gentlemen on the call just now were reminded and grateful about how rarely they pat themselves on the back because they're always looking to the next thing, the next problem to solve, the next goal to reach. Meanwhile, actually, reaching those becomes faster, I believe, when we look back on our week or our day and our month and we go, wow, that was pretty cool. Actually, oh, I made a little progress there. And yeah, maybe that wasn't quite what I wanted it to be, but it was definitely a win. And I believe that really amplifies our success and also our overall feeling of ourselves. So we did that for the first part of the call. We went around and shared that. And then the next question I ask is, what would it look like to be more of the man you want to be? And this is based off the idea that so many of us are being told how we should be as men by other men, by women, by all kinds of people telling us what it looks like to be a man. And it's all full of all kinds of definitions. And for me, who's I would say a pretty confident, secure man, I can still get frustrated, confused, angry about the different voices out there saying what I'm doing wrong. You're doing this wrong. And he tries to, oh, no, that's wrong too. And it's like, maybe I shouldn't be looking to you for my definition of what it means to be a man. Maybe I need to be defining it myself more clearly. And so this part of the conversation is to invite the guys to define it, to clarify. What does that look like to be more of the men I want to be? And the way I do this in my coaching and in this call is we focus on who we're being. So as human beings, we have a habit of focusing on what we're doing. What do we do wrong? What do we do right? What do we need to do next? And we underappreciate how important it is that we're being a particular way while we're doing those things. I used the example on the call that, if you're haven't been going to the gym and you finally start going to the gym and you're being judgmental, well, the gym's going to suck because you'll sit there and you look yourself in the mirror and that's wrong and this is too small and that's this, I got a problem with that. You're not going to stick through it. It's not going to benefit. But if you go to the gym and you're being optimistic, maybe even being gentle with yourself, the chances that you're going to continue going to the gym and continue to improve your health are exponentially better. And so as the guys were sharing, what they're doing, what they want to be doing, I kept revisiting the question of, okay, what way of being is really working? And people said being focused, being gentle, being disciplined, being loving, being courageous, all those things came up. And so we focused on the doing and the being, because I believe the being is what gives way to what we're doing. And so we started talking about what it looks like to be more of the men we want to be. And some guys shared they want to read more about different topics, not just being a student. Someone was a student there. Someone else talked about creating and sharing their self-expression, not being such a user of social media and content and actually being someone who's creating something. Someone else shared about speaking up more firmly, but still kindly. So really great conversation on more defining what it is to be the men we want to be. Something I brought up for myself was being more playful. Sometimes I can be a bit of a serious guy. I can be heavy and not take things as lightly as I'd like to. And I'd like to take things more lightly. And then it's funny how, as I said this, little breadcrumbs started dropping, little clues. And I saw, okay, playfulness. Well, what would that look like if I was being more playful? And I was like, you know what? You know what I'm going to do this week or within the next 2 weeks? I'm going to take my wife on a surprise date, but I'm going to pretend that I don't live with her. I'm going to knock on the door like I'm picking her up for a date. And she won't even realize I'm picking up for a date. She'll probably be going, Simon, there's someone at the door. And I'm going to text her and say, hey, can you go get the door? And it'll be me standing there. So I'm going to take her on a surprise date and we're going to have a wonderful time. And that's going to be a version of me being more playful. You know, I work a lot. I love my work. And I struggle to do things away from work sometimes. And so this will be an example of me letting go of that and enjoying this. So that was one of the things that I defined. And we went through a lot of different definitions of what it looks like to be the men we want to be, which gives us ownership. It gives us ownership over our future and ourselves. And so after we did that, the final question that we do together is, what would it look like to go be that man over the next week or month? So now we're actually setting a commitment, declaring a commitment that we're going to play with and bring this into our life. And I encourage the guys to pick something that's low, that's feasible and it's progress, but it's not huge. Because if it's too big, we're not going to commit to it. We're not going to adhere to it, and we'll end up feeling discouraged anyway. So I shared my example of taking my wife out on a date. That's my commitment over the next 2 weeks. And what were some of the things that guys shared? Someone shared about speaking up with his girlfriend. You know, he's been really focused on listening to her, but as he's doing that, he's been also bypassing his own opinions. So he's going to share that. Someone else talked about putting the phone down. You know, instead of it being the first thing he looks up at in the morning, he's going to not look at that. And before he looks at it, the minimum barrier to entry is he's going to drink a glass of water and then he's allowed to look at it. Or he's going to pick a time frame in the day, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, something like that. He originally said 12 o'clock, and I told him, let's pick something smaller. You know, because if you haven't done this before and you're used to looking at your phone when you wake up, jumping to not looking at it till 12 is a pretty big jump and likely one you're not going to be able to continue for a very long time. So you want to pick something you can actually create a lifestyle change in. You know, that's why I'm not a really big fan of, 2-week challenges, 30-day challenges, because they're often extreme and unsustainable. And sustainable growth it's epic. There's a reason why people say the eighth wonder of the world is compound interest, because when you sustainably invest in yourself, in your bank account, in life, what it looks like over time is extraordinary. Another one was picking up some books outside of his studies. I mentioned that earlier. And this person did a really great job of declaring, we separated this into two categories: who you're being and what you're doing. And his way of being is he's going to practice being more mindful of the future, mindful of what he wants to get out of things. Someone else said being intentional. And then they said he's going to read a chapter this weekend to get that book thing going. Loved it. Aiming low, but sustainable, feasible action, off to the races. And then someone else talked about publishing some work online. He's been writing some essays and he wants to publish it online. And so he's going to take that on. So that's how it goes. This is how our Gentlemen's Club works. And, if you want to come, check the link in my bio. Would love to have more like-minded guys there. I do one of these calls per month. If we get a big enough group of men, I'll do it more often. But right now we're kind of a small group. So I'm going to do one a month and let's come together. We have a habit as men to do things on our own, and to not have these kinds of conversations is obviously a unique kind of conversation that I think can be extraordinarily beneficial in a lot of ways. So if you want to be a part of it, I would love to have you there. Follow the links, follow the things, and hope to see you soon.